and welcome to Read Read. Today I have a pretty fun and I think actually a kind of requested video. I want to make a video talking about how to talk about books on YouTube. So at the start of this month I did a fun tag that was the Honest Booktuber tag, and in that video it was kind of an excuse to talk about the philosophy, the why of my channel, why I make videos, and I've been wanting for a while to talk about actually the how, the practical advice of, yes, in that video I talked about why I talk about the sorts of books that I like and more subjective views, but then I thought, hey, I get comments from people who say, I want to make a BookTube channel, I want to start talking about books, how do I do it? And things that I might think of as being the obvious answer, it's like, hey, turn the camera on and start talking, really translate into, well, what camera do you use? How do you set it up? How do you light your room? How do you record good audio? And so I just figured, okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make a video talking about the process of almost start to finish how I make a video. I'm going to show you sort of a POV of what it looks like from my perspective. I'm going to talk about the editing software that I use. I'm going to talk about revenue. There's going to be some general or subjective things that I still talk about, but I will almost save that for a little bit later. I want this video to hopefully be as practical, useful as I can possibly imagine. And so it's a little bit fragmentary. I don't know exactly where to start, but I'll just kind of start from first principles of deciding you want to make a video talking about books or you want to make a BookTube channel. Obvious thing is sign up for an account on YouTube, come up with a name for it, and we're prepared to go. The next thing is thinking about what sorts of books you want to, what sort of video you want to make, because you can make videos where you're talking about specific books, which I like to do and I prefer to do, or you can make videos where they are non-book specific videos. And what I mean by that is there are categories of videos, and this is a non-book specific video. Basically every video I've made this month is a non-book specific video, partly because I'm running a bit of an experiment, but pretty much non-book specific videos are videos that any viewer can watch. This is 5 great opening lines. This is, look at these books that I just bought. This is, let's come on a vlog with me. This is, let's do a BookTube tag, which is effectively like a Q&A. These videos are always more popular or have a better chance of being more popular than videos talking about specific books. Sometimes you can be blessed by the algorithm like Leaf by Leaf and his Gravity's Rainbow video, but most of the time, and the videos that the most popular booktubers make are always these non-book specific videos. Why? Well, duh, everyone can watch them. If I make a video talking about some obscure avant-garde book that I read from an author that no one's heard of, it's not unthinkable to imagine that, yeah, the video is going to get probably 40 views. Whereas if I myself find a new BookTube channel, click on it, and then see, 5 books that I read this summer, my monkey brain is going to think, I want to know what 5 books you read this summer. Click and I'll watch it. And so it's not like it's not an indicator of like the quality of your audience or anything, because, I love watching videos talking about really specific books, but I also love seeing what books you just bought. It's kind of nice comfort. It almost keeps up. It's just like an insight into the into the creator's life, and you're able to keep up with their content. Whereas when a booktuber uploads a video of a review of a book that I know that I want to read but I haven't yet read it, I'm just a little bit like, okay, 4 years from now when I finally read War and Peace, I'm going to go and watch this video talking about it. But hopefully the reason you want to make videos talking about books is because you're a reader and you like actually reading books. However, just consider that from a kind of popularity or success perspective, videos talking about specific books are doomed to be less successful. And just a quick example, At the time of me taking notes for this video, Jack Edwards, the internet's resident librarian, he had made 381 videos. The last 50 videos that he made, 47 of them were non-book specific videos. So obviously it's his career. He understands how the market works. Just keep that in mind. And also a fun side note is that the 3 videos where he was talking about one specific book, he actually didn't even put the name of the book in the title. So I vaguely remember one of them was like, this is the book that was the theme of the gala. He didn't, and so yeah, it's just something that almost like putting name of the book, author, and then the words review is kind of just like not correct or destined to be algorithmically poor. But of course, but hopefully you want to make videos talking about books that you actually like, which means that if any one other real person also actually likes those books and watches your video, then it's going to mean a lot more than just thousands of people clicking on it, clicking on a video talking about a couple of books that you just bought that you liked. But again, that's verging into subjective territory. You're welcome to make whatever videos you like. What I'm going to do as well really quickly is just do a scan from my perspective to show you kind of what everything looks like. Okay, here's a quick POV of what my desk looks like when I'm working on a video. Obviously I have the camera set up. Sorry, it's backlit right now, but it's because I need my face to be frontlit. It's just a Nikon D5500. I've got this Rode microphone on top that I don't actually ever use. It's kind of backup audio, and then just the display screen on the right. This is the actual microphone that I use. It's a it's a Zoom H6, and it's pretty snazzy. I have it sitting on a couple of dictionaries, and I've also made sure that it's not showing up in the display screen. Just a personal preference. A book of notes that I'll just flick through, and also obviously whatever book I have in question. If I need any extras, then I'll just have them sort of lying around there. And then also just something a little bit more specific. This is the sound of the audio from the microphone, the Zoom H6, and this is the sound of the audio from the camera, which is why, there is obviously much better quality from the handheld one, which is why I use that, but I like to have the microphone on top of the camera as a kind of backup. If you are going to make videos talking about a specific book, it's always a good idea to prepare and to take some notes so that if you're not comfortable with public speaking or presenting, then you can kind of do yourself as many favors as possible. In terms of taking notes, there are a couple of ways that you can do it. Of course, you get to the end of the book, you read it, you think, oh wow, that was a great experience. I really liked that I read that. You can have a temptation or an impulse to then go and say, oh, I want to make a video talking about how much I loved that book. If you don't kind of prepare, or if you don't sort of have things to say locked in your memory, then there is a chance that really all you wanted to do was just say that you read this book, which is also fine and it's also great. But if you want to make kind of videos that are longer than 30 seconds, then it can be a really good idea to get into the habit of taking notes exactly what you liked about the book. At the end of the day, you do need to decide, am I going to make videos that are just going to be me recapping the plot for some people, or am I going to try and point out specific things that I personally liked just to try and highlight it, and then hopefully someone in the comments can point out a specific thing that they liked. The way that I like to do that is when I'm reading a book, I have just some sticky notes or some tags on the side, and I will just quickly chuck it in. This can be for anything. It can be for my own personal rereading where I think, oh, that was a great line, I want to go back and reread that. It can also be a marker for when I'm talking about it on YouTube. And what I'll do is when I do a video, my own process is to just start give general notes about the reading experience, and then just jump straight in, and I'll just flick through, read the notes, read the sentence again, and then think, oh, okay, that was cool. Do I want to talk about that in the video? Or do I want to maybe talk about something related to that? Not exactly that. I just use these tags as ways to kind of flick through and have a kind of jumping off point for any notes or discussions. And the good thing as well, the reason I like that is because I'm reading through the book kind of in order. It means that things that are spoilery are generally going to be near the end of the video. I try to give notes about or heads up whenever I'm going to spoil something, but also considering viewer retention, the people who haven't read the book have probably already checked out. So yeah. And then another kind of insider secret. So basically, once you get to the end of the book, you can think, oh wow, it was such a great experience. I really loved it. And then if someone asks you what happens in the book, you can just think, and then like specific things are coming to your mind, but maybe because you've just read the book once, you don't have a good form of the book in your head. You can do one of two things. You can either go onto Wikipedia and quickly reread the plot synopsis so that it can refresh your memory, or you can read the introduction. Just go and read the introduction, and it's great because introductions are basically really good essays on the book, and they will tell you like general themes. You can read the introduction and you can even just say things from the introduction in the video for the sake of analysis, but you can also just say, oh, okay, this is what this person thought, I agreed or I disagreed. It's kind of great perspective. And the good thing with the introduction is that, of course, it's going to just give you another general reminder or refresher of what the plot summary is. So yeah, that's my recommendation, is pretty much just before you start recording, I recommend go back, reread the introduction just to give you another refresher of exactly what happened, what the kind of beats and the pace of the book was, and it will hopefully help out with organizing and structuring your thoughts. And one more thing to stress, just in the sort of still a bit subjective category, there's no right thing to talk about. It's not an exam. It's kind of just deciding what are the things that you liked about the book and what do you want to talk about. And so, yeah, I would say that. And so there's not really, again, I just want to stress that there's not really a right or a wrong answer. If you feel like, there might be times where you feel like, oh, I didn't notice the interesting things in a book. That can be a little bit of a kind of hard, or that can be a kind of dangerous mentality, especially when you go back and read the introduction and you think, oh man, why didn't I notice this symbolism or this blah, 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 blah. Well, now you notice it. Well, now you know it because someone wrote it in the introduction, and then you can say it, and hopefully maybe someone in the comments can tell you something that you missed, or it's the reverse. You notice something that the viewer didn't notice, and so it's just this nice, consistent dialogue. If you're really worried about having not gotten everything out of a book, well, read it again. There's no rush. You don't need to, you don't have to make a video. Again, I just want to stress this is something that you do for fun. It's not an exam, but you can just sort of decide what quality or what level of engagement the videos are going to be, and that's going to be your channel. That's going to be the sorts of videos that you make. Next up, let's try to get a little bit specific with presenting. A good piece of advice that I rarely take is to speak in a way that is conducive or will make editing easier. And what I mean by that is you probably won't notice it in the moment, but if you say lots of ums, lots of ahs, those things are inevitable because of the way that you speak. But one thing that can be hard is if you say blah, 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 and then blah, 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 blah. If your sentences are constantly running into each other, it can make editing out those ums and ahs quite hard. So what I recommend, and again, this is just general good public speaking advice, take breaks in between the sentences so that if you need to, you can edit it, you can chop half a millisecond, move it here and there. It's okay if the sentences seem a little bit jagged when you are presenting, but you're able to fix that in post. It's a lot easier to fix it in post if your sentences aren't constantly running into each other. However, again, this is also a balance, and at the risk of, people being impatient with me, I really try to not edit out unless it's absolutely necessary, just because I generally don't like how fast-paced a lot of modern content is. I don't mind listening to someone say and like losing a second of my time if it means that I'm getting what would essentially be the equivalent of an actual candid conversation. Thinking about candid conversations, trying to capture your candidness doesn't make you not candid. And what I mean by that, actually, probably one of the best analogies that I heard is actually from a YouTuber named Ranton. And in a podcast, he was talking to his brother, and he said the equivalent of, is it lying if you clean up your house before guests arrive? And that's a good way of thinking about what the presenter personality is like. I feel like in light of a lot of modern looks or interpretations on fame, we think that, these people are wearing a mask, they're pretending. Another way that you can think about it, if it kind of helps your psyche, is instead to think about it more like a uniform. Like when I'm presenting, I'm talking in a certain way. It's not necessarily always how I would talk in real life, because, in real life, I'm not always giving a lecture, but it's more like it's a role or a job that you're adopting for the time that the camera is running, and then afterwards you are able to take it off. It doesn't matter if there's like a cloth that's displayed about on the room or something like that. And so another thing, and again, I talked a little bit about this in my video, the Honest BookTuber tag, but you're allowed to decide that you want to say something funny and then say something funny. It's not pretending. You don't need to think, I'm constructing this narrative. It's like you just wanted to say something funny. You wanted a person to laugh, and that's completely fine. I'm going to talk really quickly about aesthetics. So one of the things that you'll probably notice is that I opt for a 45-degree side angle. This is a little bit of a alteration in the way that I came to it or decided to do it. I don't know if this is a indicator of some slight neurodivergent activity, but I basically never talk to people while looking them in the eye, and I noticed that I always like to kind of look askance. And even in some of my earlier videos where I'm doing a front-on profile, I would almost always just naturally look out of the window while I was talking. And so I figured, well, hey, why don't I just make that what I'm doing all the time, so that at least it's consistent. Also helps that I like my side profile more than my front-on profile, which I think everyone does. Also, I like to opt for natural lighting, just because for me it's too much effort to sort out cameras or to sort out like lighting and everything like that. There is going to be a million people talking about how to set up lighting if you want, but I always just recommend natural lighting is the way to go if it's an option. Can be a little bit hard because you are going to essentially be burning your mornings, but yeah, I like to organize to do my videos sort of weekend mornings, just so that I can smash it out and then move on with the rest of the weekend. And then of course the background, right now I'm rocking a very minimalistic background, but I would say it's pretty common to have some nice eye candy background. For a long time I had my bookshelf, but yeah, of course you just do what you have to do. Just decide what you want your background to actually be, and of course make sure your camera is in focus, because I have definitely been the victim of the camera not being in focus, because I'm using a DSLR. The lens is quite loud with autofocus, so I actually can't have autofocus on, which really burns, because I've gotten to the end. I actually made a video on Nabokov's Pale Fire where I got to the end, realized the whole thing was out of focus, and I've just been too unmotivated to redo it. Okay, and I have one more thing, just talking about aesthetics and the way that you present to the camera. And I'm sorry if this comes across as rude. This might be subjective. I think some people have a much stronger tolerance to it than I do. And we all make these mistakes. I know I've already done this multiple times in this video. Please, please look in the lens. Do not look in the display screen. It is very obvious when you are watching a video and you can tell that someone is just looking in the display screen the whole time. It's such an ick for me that I'll actually stop watching videos if I see somebody is just staring at their own face the whole time. It's a little bit more acceptable with a phone because, you know, at least when you're FaceTiming someone, their face is there, so you're kind of looking at them. But when I'm watching a video of a person who is vlogging and I see that their eyes are permanently fixed to the left or the right of the lens, it is just so clear that they are staring at themselves and not at the lens, which is where, again, is subjective, but I'm just going to say all professionals look in the lens. Anyway, moving on, another useful piece of advice that I give is to not script word for word your videos unless you are doing voiceover. So if you are talking to a camera, basically the reason why you don't want to script word for word is because it is going to make your editing process at least twice as long, because what's going to happen is the video, the content that you're going to be working with is going to be you doing this, and then moving on, and if you screw it up, well then you're gonna repeat it, blah blah blah. So what I like to do is I like to have just notes, dot points, bullet points, and then just kind of riff off them, and it's helped out a lot. I think the only times where I've ever scripted videos were the very early videos, and honestly I didn't even really read them. If you want to do something that's sort of the equivalent of scripting but is not actually, I recommend just journaling about the experience of reading the book, because and that's almost like a kind of soft study. You don't need to read that journal after or during your video, but just to kind of get all the ideas out, you'll be able to kind of remember things a little bit easier. I still just really recommend not using any like actual written scripts unless you are happy to spend hours and hours extra editing. Let's talk really quick about the pros and cons of deadlines. So one of the things that I've tried to be pretty strict on is uploading a video every week. I had a brief maybe month or two where I was uploading a video every other week, and it was sort of an excuse to read some longer books, but I'm feeling back in the uploading a video every week schedule. And one way that it can really help out, it might be hard because when you constantly have a deadline, you're thinking, oh gosh, I need to keep reading these books. I need to keep reading like these books and just keep making content. And if it's stressing you out, obviously just don't do it. Just don't have a deadline. But I want to mention that there are actually some kind of ways that you can have videos stored up so that you don't really have to make compromises in what you're reading. And I've got a kind of list, or some statistics set up of a string or about a month worth of videos that I made. And it might seem, I think if you were to look at my videos just in isolation, you might think, oh, how is he reading all these books so quickly? How did he read, Mason and Dixon in 1 week? I didn't read Mason and Dixon in 1 week. And to kind of demonstrate, I have 6 videos that I uploaded, but then I also have the statistics of when I actually read them, just to give you an idea of what the behind the scenes is like. Generally, after I read a book, within a day or two, I'll make a video of it. Then I will upload it and schedule it to be released on the, on the Thursday that is coming up, or like whatever Thursday is the next or the latest Thursday, depending on how many videos I've made. Let's take a look at a string of videos that I made, starting with Satin Tango, which was released on the 2nd of November, and then ending with Mason and Dixon, which was released on the 7th of December. So a little bit more than a month. Satin Tango, 2nd of November, I then had a video called 5 Opening Lines, or 5 Great Opening Lines, which released on the 9th of November. I had a book on the poems of Matsuo Basho that was released on the 16th of November. My 5 favorite closing lines was on the 23rd of November. A video on Beowulf was on the 30th of November, and then Mason and Dixon was released on the 7th of December. And let's now look at when I actually, in real time, finished reading each of those books. I finished reading Sutton Tango on the 9th of October, and I made a video about it pretty quickly after. The poems of Matsuo Basho I also read on the 9th of October. So I think what happened is I might have been reading Sutton Tango. It's probably closer to say that I actually read it, finished reading it on the 8th of October. The next day, because the poems of Basho were quite short, I finished that on the 9th of October as well. I then spent 14 days reading Umberto Eco's The Name of the Rose. I finished that on the 22nd of October. However, because I didn't really love it enough to want to make a video on it, I just kind of left it. I let it go. The day after, the 23rd of October, is when I finished Beowulf. I then read Donald Barthelme's The Dead Father, the 26th, and finished that on the 26th of October. I read William Strunk and E.B. White's The Elements of Style, and I finished that on the 31st of October. And then, bear in mind that with all of those books, I read those all within the month of October, so not even the video on Sutton. The video on Sutton Tango hadn't even come out yet. Then I started reading Mason and Dixon, and I finished that on the 21st of November. So I actually spent 3 weeks reading Mason and Dixon, which hopefully, and actually it's probably more likely that I started reading Mason and Dixon on the 26th of October, which was a little bit more, it would have been right after I finished Barthelme's The Dead Father. So nearly 4 weeks I spent reading Mason and Dixon, and which is a lot different to what it looks like just on my video feed. It looks like I just read Beowulf and then a week later I read Mason and Dixon. However, because I used a couple of the non-book specific videos like the 5 opening and 5 closing lines, and also because I read, I tactically planned it so that I would read books that I wanted to read, like the poems of Basho and Beowulf. I read those books. They were very quick reads. I made a video. I sort of bought myself a week in terms of the schedule, and then I was able to relax, read a long book that I wanted to read, and so it didn't disrupt my reading schedule. I even, in the whole meantime, read Umberto Eco's Name of the Rose and didn't even make a video on it. So yeah, and I'm also glad for this because the book that I'm currently reading is this big. So that's why I have that's why this month has been a lot of non-book specific videos. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of show that behind the scenes to show you that if you want the motivation of deadlines, which I do like the motivation of deadlines to keep myself reading and to keep disciplined, but you're worried that it's going to affect the way that you read, I would actually recommend that you can be a little bit smarter about it, or you can be pretty smart about how you choose what to read when, how you balance non-book specific videos versus book specific videos. And then also, you don't have to have a deadline. You don't have to upload a video every week. That's just my personal preference for the deadline. If you're really stressing out about it, then 2 weeks, 1 video a month, who cares? For me, 1 video a week, allowing a couple of non-book specific videos has always been a good balance of, the discipline and still being able to read what I want to. And then lucky last, just talking about analytics and revenue. After you reach a certain threshold, I think you have to have had 10,000 views and 1,000 subscribers or something, you'll be able to qualify for YouTube Partner Program, YouTube AdSense, which, you know, my videos are monetized. The most, just to give you a little behind the scenes, the most popular video that I've done was one day reading experiences. I think it got about 12,000 views, and I made $43.77 off that, which is pretty cool. And another thing as well, this can be a little bit of a cesspool. It's not a good idea to spend so much time talking or looking at your viewer analytics. But if you ever get disheartened and you think, oh gosh, all of these, you know, popular YouTubers, they have all of these thousands and hundreds of thousands of people watching their videos. Just a little behind the scenes, viewer retention is a thing. So you get your view goes up by 1 as soon as someone clicks on a video, but it doesn't, you can't see how quickly they click out of it. And so just as a kind of note, for my video on Madame Bovary, which did pretty well, I think I got about 1,500 views, after 30 seconds, more than 50% of the people had checked out, which, factoring in that I have like a 20-second introduction in all of my videos, it's not exactly the most wholesome thing to consider. It's like you've put on a concert and everyone's bought a ticket, and then after the first song, half the crowd is left. However, just keep in mind that, there's a lot of people who are going to be clicking on it for the impulse. You benefit in that they watch that first ad and you get a little bit of money or revenue. But then really the people who stay and the people who actually watch and go through, they're kind of like the real viewers. They're the people who are like going to be leaving comments, going to be talking, and they're your sort of they're kind of your real audience. But yeah, just something to keep in mind. So, and this is like, so actually in this graph that I'm going to show, the gray line is typical viewer retention, and you can see that it's even still pretty low. And then lastly, there are other ways to monetize. So I think this might be the first time I've ever explicitly said this in a video, but I also have a Ko-fi account where you can leave donations. I think something that Maria at Strange Lucidity said recently is like, if you donate just like $5, then in terms of the equivalent of ads, it's like you've watched 500 videos start to finish, which is kind of funny. The reason I don't talk about the Ko-fi too much is I don't know why. I don't really know why I'm so shy about it, but it's probably just because I'm not like really trying to make a career and get a whole bunch of money out of this channel. But I am always extremely thankful for anyone who does donate, and one incredibly generous donator in particular, you know who you are. Thank you. You've basically been able to afford for me to get some better equipment. So again, thank you. Okay, and so the last couple of things I'm going to do, I'm probably just going to use my phone to film the process of getting up and editing a video. So this is probably going to be the sort of end of proper camera filming. Okay, now we're in the Postlude after I've recorded the video. Just get the the SD disk out, and we're just going to put it on our hard drive. And I'm just copying the videos over. One thing that is a little bit annoying about filming with a DSLR camera is that the videos, like the video length caps at 20 minutes. So I do have to kind of constantly stop and start if the video goes longer than 30 minutes or goes longer than 20 minutes. But yeah, it's not the end of the world, just moving them over onto a hard drive. And then I'm also going to do the same. This is the SD card from the camera, and then this is from the microphone. And again, I get that it can be a bit annoying to have to go through and do the syncing later, but just for the security of knowing that I have backup audio if I need, I do like to have the portable camera audio be a separate file. Okay, so now I have the two DSC files are the movies, and the Zoom 0423 is the audio. Something to note is that the audio records at a WAV file. However, that file size is quite big, and you generally won't need a WAV file for YouTube audio or anything. So I actually like to convert that down to just a different file size, like an MP3, just to bring down the quality, and I'll show you what that looks like. So I use this app called Lame XP. It's just a portable free It's going to convert this file into OGG. You can do MP3 or whatever. Just crank the quality all the way up. After you finish encoding, I'll show you what the difference in the file size is at the end. Okay, so now that I've converted it down, you can see the audio is now only 94 megabytes as opposed to 355 megabytes from before. Just a little thing that will help bring the audio or bring the video file size down without really sacrificing that much quality. And the video editing software I use is Filmora. I'm kind of a barbarian when it comes to using it. I'm sure I'm not using it anywhere close to its full potential, but for me, it's literally just drag video and audio into the timeline, sync it up, then edit out ums, ahs, and any mistakes. So I also like to just make a unique jingle for almost all of my videos. Just going to use the zoom again, feeling a sort of major 9 vibe. So let's do like an E pedal point. And not bad, but I'll just record it one more time just to have a backup. Alright, cool. Let's see if that's even remotely usable. And if it is, it'll be the opening jingle. Okay, nice. So I ended up liking the second one, and what I'll do is I'll generally just have my read title card and then also the name of the video. And this is just how. I'll just record it one more time just to have a backup. And I haven't yet, but I'll make sure to add some fades or some dissolves in. Now that I've added dissolves and a little bit of fade in the audio, this is what the very start of the video will look like. Nice. Nifty thing about Filmora is that when I drag the audio in, it tells me, oh, this is what the original audio was, or this is what the original file was. Do you want to match it? So I'm just going to bring that in, and then there is always a little bit of a start. I can't believe I'm getting so fucked up by this. It's crazy. This is because I had like 3 takes. Cool, clap to sync with audio, and I'll show you what that looks like. And we can see right about here, that's where the clap is, because I started recording a little bit. I started recording the audio later than the video. That's why it's a little bit behind, but I'm just going to sync up that line to be with that one. So now that both looks and sounds like it's in sync, and I will mute the audio of the video. So now I'm only using the kind of extra, the zoom recording audio. Okay, so I've got the audio now synced up, and I've increased the gain so that it's kind of at a nice general volume. And from here, we've basically started the video. Hello, welcome to Read Red. Today, I have a pretty fun and I think actually kind of requested video. Okay, I've moved that file now to be at the start, and it'll fade in after the title sequence. And then from here, the fun part is really just watching the video, editing out the parts that I don't like, and making it a little bit cleaner. It's going to get a little bit meta when this video starts becoming part of the video. But yeah, what I'm now going to do is just get the footage off my phone onto the video, and then yeah, I'll do some extra check-ins later as the editing gets further along. Okay, and so now I'm here, but up to this point also in the actual editing process, where I've got all of the clips of the video. It's coming to nearly 40 minutes, so man, if you're here, oh mama. But yeah, all of the extra images and files, and other than the video that I'm recording right now, which at this point is probably superfluous, but you know, may as well finish it up, that's it. And then I'll be able to hit export and save it onto my computer. Thank you for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. I hope this was a valuable insight into the behind the scenes of actually making a video on YouTube. Let me know if there are any other questions or anything else you wanted to know about making a video. Otherwise, thank you for watching. Hopefully I'll be seeing your videos sometime soon. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one.